All right, so thank you everyone for coming back and joining us once again for the Ghost of Northwood House. Here I have a nice cast and crew of people. So if we could start from the top in Discord with Deserted GM.
Hi everyone, I am Chris. We started with characters. I'll be voicing Tabitha Whitecliffe, the grande dame of the family, and Edward Pierre, the gardener. So that would be interesting. Um, I'm a fledgling professional GM based in Phoenix and virtually. And my jam is Middle Earth, everything Middle Earth. If you want to play a game, no matter what system, you want to come to me, and there's some forthcoming content, but that's still in development.
I played in one, it was quite fun. All right, next up we have Games and Cheese.
Hi, my name is Eli. I go by Games and Cheese, sometimes known as Diamonolius. I will be playing Camilla Whitecliffe and Algernon Whitecliffe, both husband and wife. So that should be an interesting combination there. I do host a Twitch channel of my own, the Screaming Goat Tavern. We play D&D on Wednesdays, and we have some interactive streams on Sundays and Mondays as well. But yeah, stop on by sometime.
Next up is Halo.
Cool. Hello, guys. I'm Kevin, otherwise known as Halo Lagan. In terms of tabletop RPG stuff, hold on. Doing things in the wrong order. I will be voicing Buckley Whitecliffe, the son of Lord Remington Whitecliffe and Gwendolyn Whitecliffe, or grandchildren of. In terms of projects, tabletop RPG I can't quite talk about yet, but I'm primarily a competitive first-person shooter commentator, and I'm even going to be at an event next week down in Fairfax, Virginia.
And it's our third time on stream together.
Yes, sir.
Cool. And next up we have Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'll be playing two characters, Shipley Sherwood, the chef, the live-in cook at Northwood Manor, and Gwendolyn Whitecliffe, the wife of Lord Remington, one of the family that lives in the manor. And I run a podcast called the True RPG Podcast. It's an audio actual play. We're going to be doing different TTRPGs. We're going to be different game systems each season, but we're still in our first season, starting with D&D, in an adventure called We Need to Catch Dragon, which you can find on my Twitter.
Very cool.
Me.
So next to be Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I am one of the two people who runs Mythical Mystery Games. And I will be reading the Penelope Press, who is the narrator and the journalist who is bringing to you all of these mysteries around Salchester. This is our first game in a series of 6 mysteries around Salchester.
And last up we have Jonathan.
Yeah, hey, so I'm Jonathan. I'm the other half of people running Mythical Mystery Games. And I will be voicing Isolde Whitecliffe. So she is the daughter of Lord Remington and Gwendolyn. And I will also be voicing Maitland Oak, who is the butler. And
my name is Lena, and I'll be voicing Hollis, girlfriend to Isolde.
Lena is also the recipe specialist for our games, so she's the one kind of behind the scenes designing all the recipes for us.
They look great.
I hope you enjoy.
I will definitely have to try them. Okay, so I guess that leaves us at the point to get started. So if Penelope would take it away.
Salutations, citizens of Salchester. This is Penelope Press with the Salchester Gazette, bringing to you the first installment in what I like to call the Northwood Fables. It had been more than 20 years since the Whitecliffe family bought the Northwood house and orchards. After the mysterious murder of the manor's previous owner, I remained vigilant for the strange and inexplicable, working as a journalist at the Salchester Gazette. But, I'm afraid, the last 2 decades left me rather empty-handed. If, in truth, there was ever anything curious about the Northwood house or its inhabitants, the Whitecliffs did an excellent job of hiding it, until, that is, one dismal autumn day when death came to the manor and everything changed. Dawn lit the Northwood house with a gentle golden glow. As the morning wore on, a veil of clouds hid the sun, inhibiting its warmth until the chill, dreary weather outside matched the gloom within the old manor. Inside Northwood House was still. The Whitecliff family had hosted their annual harvest festival banquet the night before, beneath a radiant full moon. It was the butler, Maitland Oak, who found Lord Remington's body in the foyer, when the morning still seemed bright. Maitland immediately woke all who had spent the night in Northwood House to inform them of Lord Remington's death. None of them were physicians, but examining the body they found no obvious mortal wounds. Before long, they all gathered into the drawing room, where Shipley, the cook, served pumpkin pancakes and leftover potatoes from the night before. A foul mood infected the air, morbid and accusatory, and it seemed the day had little in store but bitter argument. But as the morning sky grew darker, the atmosphere both outside and in taking on a bleak, bitter chill, there was an abrupt change. One of Tabitha Whitecliff's cats, perched next to Tabitha on the arm of the sofa, hissed and yowled and sprinted out of the room, claws scratching on the hardwood floor as she scrambled away. The cat was clever. She knew something dark was coming. A moment later, they all saw him in the foyer. Not where he was, or rather, where he should have been. It was surely him. He wasn't as he should have been either. No, he was ethereal, diaphanous, and as he strode into the drawing room, his feet seemed to skim the floor, going through the motions but never quite making firm contact on the wooden surface. The ghost of Lord Remington Whitecliff stopped in the center of the drawing room and smiled a lifeless, mirthless, ghastly grin.
Now, family, friends, this incoherent quarreling won't do at all.
Father, this can't be.
I assure you it very much is. Now, I would like to know who killed me just as much as you. You see, I can't quite seem to remember exactly how it happened.
It wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me.
Be quiet, Buckley.
Whose idea was this trickery? It's not funny in the least.
Trickery, dear wife? Or perhaps wife no longer. Now death parts us. There is no trickery here, but for the one of you who feigns innocence regarding the premature termination of my life.
This seems like a family matter. I'm going to go make a cup of tea. If that's all right.
Be seated, Shipley. This is a matter for the whole of Northwood House. I fear every person in this house is a suspect. Well, we have some clever people here. I'm sure we can figure out the truth.
The truth isn't always all that easy, ma'am. Perhaps it isn't. I imagine we can find it all the same.
So back to arguing about who done it then?
Yes, I think you had better. But perhaps it would behoove you all to talk one at a time this time. Now, if my killer won't come forward willingly, why don't you try to retrace the events of last night? Perhaps, even if you cannot unearth the truth, hearing you speak may help to retrieve my memory of the matter. So, did any of you see or hear anything out of the ordinary? And so we will move on to the first Q&A session. Also, thank you, Hot Tank Pancake, for the follow. What a very apt name for the situation.
Perfect.
So can anyone jump in? Sorry.
Yeah, anyone can jump in. Yeah, you go for it if you want. Go for it.
No, you go ahead. You began.
I'm being Isolde right now, just for full clarity. Last night, I did take Lord Remington's wine glass back to... Oh, shit. I'm reading the wrong thing. I'm so sorry.
Accuse.
My mother, Lady Gwendolen, has despised my father for years. She didn't seem very upset earlier this morning when we all first saw Lord Remington's corpse. Just a few days ago, I remember her saying how happy she'd be to see him dead. Well, Mother, did you mean what you said? Do you really want him dead? This all you're doing?
Yes, I've openly despised my husband, Lord Remington, for years. So what? He was a rather abominable man. If I wished him dead, well, who in this family hasn't wished one amongst us dead every now and then? If I don't seem upset right now, it's because I'm not. That doesn't mean I killed him. Of course I didn't kill him. I saw my daughter Isolda taking Remington's wine glass to the kitchen last night. Isolda, did you do something to his wine? Why else would you have taken the wine glass? Surely, seeing to his wine is the butler's job, or the cook's. Isolda, what exactly were you doing?
Last night I did take my father's wine glass back to the kitchens, but I wasn't doing anything to it. Like, I wasn't poisoning it or anything, if that's what you're wondering. And in truth, I was just bringing it there to my girlfriend, Hollis. She'd offered to refill father's wine. That's all it was.
If you're looking for someone who is behaving suspiciously, Shipley, the cook, almost always lets me and my girlfriend Isolde help out in the kitchen. Well, mostly just Isolde. I usually just hang out and chat while the two professional chefs work. Last night, when Isolde offered to help, he outright refused. He didn't say why. What's up with that? Shipley, did you do something to the food and drinks?
Well, I hate to admit it, but I'd fallen behind on some of my preparations for the banquet last night. I felt bad telling Isolde and Hollis they couldn't come into the kitchens, but I needed my space to ensure that I could get everything done in time. Of course, I didn't put anything bad in the food or drink. I did notice something that was actually pretty weird. When I finished up in the kitchen and I stepped outside to let Hollis and Isolde in, I saw Hollis wagging a finger back and forth, and there was, hovering in the air above her finger, was one of Hollis's rings. There was no strings attached, I'm absolutely sure. She was just levitating it, like with real magic. Hollis, are you a witch? Or something? You can't be, can you? If you are, what else are you hiding? Did you do something to Lord Remington?
I should have been more discreet than I was last night. Yes, I practice witchcraft, and yes, I can do real magic. If anyone needs proof, I know a quick and incantation to make small, inanimate objects dance. I can also make people dance uncontrollably, but maybe I'll save that one for later. Anyway, magic is cool. Being a witch doesn't automatically mean I'm evil, and I didn't use magic to kill Lord Remington.
Magic is cool.
Thank you.
I did get into a bit of an argument with my father last night about the family business, but it wasn't my intent to get into a fight. I only decided to bring the business up with him after talking with my wife, Camilla, yesterday. In fact, she called me a disappointment for refusing to take what was rightfully mine. Camilla, why did you wind me up like that? If you cared so much, why didn't you back me up when I wanted to talk to my father? I did, my husband. Algernon upset before the banquet last night. It wasn't intentional. I wasn't looking to start a fight, but I wasn't exactly looking to avoid a fight either. It's just that Algernon constantly complains about his father, Lord Remington, and how unfair it is that he won't give him the Northwood orchards. All I did was call him a disappointment for not standing up for himself and taking the orchard. It's true, he is a disappointment. Even if I don't actually care. There you were, a number of arguments here at Northwood House last night. I heard Tabitha in a shouting match with Lord Remington. What was that about? Tabitha, you're usually so uninterested in the rest of the family these days. What got you so upset?
Well, I got into quite an argument with my son, Lord Remington, last night. Didn't I, Mr. Puss? Yeah, yes, I did. Yeah, he's been doing an awful job running the Northwood orchards. My grandson Algernon isn't likely to do much better. There was nothing malicious in the argument. The only issue at hand was Lord Remington's incompetence. can't even die correctly, and poor decision-making. If I was going to kill him over that, killed him years ago. Now, if anyone should be worried about someone taking a fight too far, it'd be that boy, my grandson, Buckley. I saw him aggressively demanding a duel with Lord Remington last night. Buckley, what were you so upset about? What would make a boy want to fight his grandfather?
Well,
Not
see,
even cats do that.
I have what other people call anger management issues, but frankly, I personally I think anyone who doesn't like to fight is a weakling. Either way, just because I like fighting doesn't mean I killed my grandfather. Last night I did see my grandfather and father arguing. I didn't hear what it was about, but I heard Lord Remington insult Algernon. So I ran in and demanded to duel him to defend my father's honor. It was the right thing to do, and a chance to beat someone up. Unfortunately, Lord Remington didn't take me up on it. My father insisted he didn't need my help, and well, that was the end of it. Now, I didn't hear what they were arguing about, but I heard Algernon and Lord Remington getting pretty angry about something last night. It was quite the argument. Never seen you so angry, Father.
Last night, I got into a heated argument with my father. I think it's about inheriting the Northwood orchards. For years, he has neglected to step down, keeping me in the periphery of the most important business. He promised me years ago he would step down soon, and I confronted him last night, of course, insisting he should keep his word and that the orchards were mine to inherit, of course. He refused it. It upset me, but I didn't kill him. You think I would kill my own father?
Oh, one thing I remember noticing in the morning yesterday is that a bizarre shipment arrived at Northwood House. It was a delivery of poisonous plants that the gardener, Edward, had ordered. Edward, why did you order those plants? Surely you weren't planning to use them to hurt Lord Remington, were you?
Well, I've recently ordered some poisonous plants, but it doesn't mean I intended to use them to hurt anyone. It's not the first time I've ordered plants that happen to be poisonous to humans. There are already some in the gardens. Sometimes poisonous plants are nice to look at. Besides, that shipment wasn't even mine. I ordered those for Shipley. Now, I can't help but wonder, when I was going to sleep last night, putting away the tables I'd set up in the gardens for the banquet, Midland, I didn't see you there. Usually you help me out with work like that. Where exactly were you at the end of the night? What were you up to, Midland?
To be frank, right now I feel quite uneasy. I seem to remember very little of last night. I'm certain I didn't get drunk. I would never do that on the job. It would be completely unprofessional. The earlier parts of the night with the banquet are mostly clear. The rest of the night, clean up, I'm afraid, rather hazy. I can't seem to recall very much at all about it, and I honestly can't tell you why. I don't know.
I seem to have lost count. Does that cover all of the Q&A? Did anybody have another position left? So, any thoughts so far?
I don't think it was Buckley.
Some ideas.
I feel like I'm being set up here.
Lots of angry people in the
Already telling everyone about all the poisons you've sold me. Or just me.
All right, let's move on to scene 2. Well, now, that was interesting. It seems all of you were up to something last night.
Come on. Surely, cooking for a banquet isn't being up to something.
You know, there's more than just food you can cook.
What do you mean? I wouldn't have had time for anything else. There was so much
Can
I had
we-
to make for the banquet.
Can we stop talking about cooking? Why aren't we talking about how Hollis is a witch? She obviously did it.
Hate to disappoint, buddy, but I don't kill people. I put hexes on whiny brats. Maybe. I don't kill.
And you're not just whiny, are you, Buckley? Perhaps there's some pent-up aggression you really needed to get out last night?
Shut up, Hag. I already said it wasn't me, okay? Does it look like I stabbed him with my rapier? No? Then shut up.
My son isn't the only one who has trouble keeping his temper, is he? Why do I feel that was a pointed comment, darling? Because, darling, it was. It's just terribly convenient for you, isn't it? That Lord Remington is finally out of your way and just after he refused to step down. Convenient, is it? Well, it's no more convenient for me than it is for my mother.
Oh, yes. The man I wished dead has died. Algernon, if my wishes could kill, half the people in this room would have died a long time ago.
Can we focus on the bit that really stood out? Why can't Maitland remember anything?
I can assure you, it would never hurt Lord Remington. Perhaps whoever killed him drugged me first in order to get to him. Maybe that's why I can't remember.
Perhaps. And just what was Isolde doing with that wine glass?
Can't a girl just be kind to her father and refill his wine?
It was just the goodness out of your heart, wasn't it?
What else would I be doing with the wine? If I were looking for suspicious activity, what was all that about poisonous plants?
Oh, you'd be surprised how many plants you shouldn't eat now. The shipment of plants that happen to be poisonous isn't rare or special.
And yet, despite all the innocence we profess, one of us must have killed Lord Remington. He wouldn't have dropped dead on his own.
Indeed, some among you, perhaps all of you, are lying. Now I sense that you are all dying to ask each other more questions. I'm sure this is more to be revealed about last night.
Algernon's mood has gotten worse lately. He's been spending more and more time at work, and I can't remember a single night in the last month that he hasn't complained about his father. In fact, I remember overhearing a conversation Algernon had in his study. I heard him say, "Get rid of Lord Remington." It seemed at the time like one of us, his usual rants. But what if he was talking about getting rid of Lord Remington by whatever means necessary? Algernon, have you been planning to kill your father after all? Yes. I've been plotting with some of my father's associates behind his back. Not to kill him, but to take the business from him, like he said years back. If he wouldn't willingly just give it to me, I'd given up on him ever stepping down of his own volition. And if it weren't for Camilla pushing me either, I might not have bothered trying to get my father to step down one last time. I would have preferred to complete this coup on my own way. Now, of course, it seems I won't have to, but it's through no effort of my own. So, Hollis is a witch, and my sister, Isolde, was taking Lord Remington's wine glass back to the kitchen on Hollis's behalf. I remember that last night very clearly. I saw Maitland carrying my parents' wine glasses out of the kitchen, presumably after Hollis and Isolde refilled them. Hollis, did you do something with Lord Remington's wine? Were you really just refilling his glass, or were you trying to poison Lord Remington? Did you hope to blame Maitland for your misdeed?
Okay, yes, I wasn't just doing magic for fun last night. I did put just a little spell on Lord Remington's wine. Doesn't matter because it didn't work, like, at all. It wasn't a spell to poison him or kill him or anything. Who cares what it was if it didn't work and if it didn't hurt anyone? As for people with actual motives to hurt the White Cliffs, Milla likes complaining about the White Cliffs to me, since neither of us were born into the family, and she told me a few weeks ago that she's planning to divorce Algernon. Camilla, are there any ulterior motives for your divorce plans? Did Lord Remington find out and confront you?
I am, in fact, planning to divorce you, Algernon. I was hoping to talk about it with the rest of the family more sensibly later. None of the Whitecliffs knew about it yet, but if it has come out now, then so be it. It's only because my husband spends all his time working, and in the rare moments he is home, he obsesses over taking Lord Remington's role. It's very unpleasant to be around. Can anyone blame me for wanting a divorce?
Was that all of the section?
No.
That was all of the section for Camille anyway.
Well, last night at some point, I did see Maitland coming into the kitchen looking uncharacteristically flustered. He had wine splashed all over him, and he was carrying a couple empty glasses. He had to change his clothes, and he seemed pretty upset about the whole whatever it was that had happened to him. He even seemed a little bit angry, which isn't like him usually. But no, Maitland, what happened to you? What made you so angry? Yes, it's starting to come back to me a little bit. I was taking Lord Remington's and Lady Gwendolyn's wine glasses back to them from the kitchens. Where Alice and you, Isolde, had filled them, suspiciously now, might I add. Perhaps no one here knows this, but when anyone other than Shipley has been in the kitchen, I always taste the food and drink just to ensure that it's safe. Unfortunately, Lady Gwendolyn happened to see me while I was taking a sip, and she was furious that I was drinking from her wine, so she grabbed it out of my hands and poured it all over me and told me to go fill it up again. So I returned to the kitchens to refill their wine, or get fresh glasses of wine for her and her husband. I'm sorry, I don't think it's too unreasonable that I seemed upset after having wine spilled on me after I was just trying to look after the safety of the people in this house. Anyway, back to those poisonous plants. Edward said he bought them on behalf of Shipley. Shipley, why on earth would you need poisonous plants? The only purposes I can think for a cook have poisonous plants are rather nefarious.
Yes, I was the one who asked Edward to order those poisonous plants, but I certainly had no intention of doing anything harmful with them. Plants can be used for purposes other than cooking, you know. As Edward said, sometimes plants that look nice happen to be poisonous. Should the garden be the only place in Northwood House that looks nice? I just wanted to decorate my work area. As for someone behaving suspiciously, I just finished washing up the dishes and glasses from the banquet, and I was getting ready to go to bed when I saw Lady Gwendolyn wandering the halls of the house. Lady Gwendolyn, what were you doing up and about so late? Were you planning to hurt Lord Remington once everyone else had gone to bed? As everyone else went to bed last night, I stayed up, walking the halls. It felt good to walk. I didn't want to go outside. My disposition is better suited to the indoors. Besides, surely you all know by now that I prefer to sleep for most of the day. There's nothing atypical about me walking about at night. If you're looking for someone actually behaving suspiciously, my mother-in-law, Tabitha, told me last night that she didn't think either Lord Remington or Algernon were capable enough to run Northwood Orchards. In fact, she asked me to consider stepping in instead. I told her no, of course not. I'd rather hate attending to that business, but Tabitha seemed so desperate to get Lord Remington out of the way. Tabitha, what did you have against him, and just how far were you willing to go?
Is that?
Yes,
There's
you
nothing
and your cat.
suspicious. There's nothing suspicious about my honesty regarding Lord Remington's and Algernon's shortcomings. One worse than the other. Yes, I asked if Lady Gwendolyn would be interested in stepping in to run the orchards, just for a time. Lord Remington clearly didn't have the capacity for it anymore. Algernon was always a poor fit for the job anyway. Besides, it would do Lady Gwendolyn well to get out of the house once in a while. I had no interest in hurting my son just because Lady Gwendolen turned me down. It seems there's more than one witch at Northwood House. Oh, and don't look at me like that. Last night, I saw Isolde stirring up some kind of bubbling brew in the kitchens, muttering incantations into it. Isolde, if you're also a witch, what else are you hiding from the family? And what's the purpose of whatever you were brewing? Did you use it to hurt Lord Remington?
I was hoping not to give this family another reason to dislike me. I know you all
Too
have a
late,
problem
darling.
with me working as a chef, but yes, I practice witchcraft. And first, I know what you're going to say. Hollis is not a bad influence. I was already practicing witchcraft when we met. Okay. Magic is what brought the two of us together, and I have no idea how Tabitha saw. I think I would have noticed if my grandmother had walked in and seen me. So, I don't know. She must be stealthier than I thought. Anyway, yes, I was working on enchanting a special brew last night. It wasn't for Lord Remington, so it's not really relevant to this conversation anyway.
Why must you even cook anyway? Isolde, it's for the servants.
But it's fun. I like it.
Why must we pay the servants then? What is good of having all this money if... Never mind.
Once it was obvious I would not be able to duel Lord Remington right then and there, I went for a walk. Not to cool off, of course not. There were some animals outside, squirrels, rabbits, and the like, and if they get close enough, well, I could stab them with my rapier. Not as fun as fighting the man, of course, but it's still fun. I'm not sure how long I was out there, but my clothes certainly got dirtied while I wandered the grounds of Northwood House. I went to the cemetery afterwards to bury the remains of the animals I killed. After all, it's not like I'm some sort of barbarian. While I was out at the Manor Cemetery last night, I saw Edward there. Looks like he was talking to a grave. It was really strange. Who talks to graves? Checked it out after he left, and it was the grave of someone named Didier Dupont. Edward, why were you talking to that grave?
Yes, I visited the Northwood House Cemetery last night, where I visited the grave of a man named Didier Dupont. Because that's my dad. I took my mother's last name, Pierre, since she and my dad never married. But I had a good relationship with him growing up. He worked as a gardener here at Northwood House for a while. Ladyship may remember. And he died here a few years back, long before I started working here. I was just at the cemetery last night to pay him my respects. I saw young Buckley behaving really weird while I was out at the cemetery last night. It looked like he was dressed in dirty rags and he was sticking up something in the cemetery. What's up with that? I think we've already heard the answer to that.
Okay. Did we have any other sections for this one? That covers almost everything. Awesome. So, any more guesses now that we've moved on? So much more information came out.
I feel guilty. Um,
There's a lot of blame being thrown around.
well, my poisonous
A lot of
kitchen
like-
plants to have around.
I mean,
He has issues.
Plants, witchcraft, potions.
Rapiers, guns.
you mean rapiers, surely?
all right. Shall we move on to scene 3? Well, now, it seems several of you have plausible motives, and even more of you are guilty of suspicious behavior than we thought.
I assure you, sir, however upset I was, I know I would never hurt you.
I think we're well past blanket statements of innocence now, Butler.
Indeed. And I think there are many more secrets yet to be revealed.
Sure, but some of those secrets are, I got into an argument, and some of them are, I'm secretly a witch. I think we know who is most suspicious here.
No? If I was going to kill one of my family members with witchcraft, I would be a lot more discreet than this.
And besides, being witches might make it easier to kill people, but it's not like we're the only ones with the means.
I suppose just about anyone could pick up a poisonous plant from the garden or wherever Shipley keeps his stash.
Respect. They could also grab any poisonous cleaning product, or a knife, or a rapier, or a gun.
But he
about the
didn't
plants?
die by rapier. Stop blaming me. It was the cook. He must have poisoned him.
Hey, whoa. Or it could have been anyone, absolutely anyone else. It seems a lot of us have had the means, but at least I've never had the motive. I'm just the cook.
This is all becoming rather intense, don't you think? Perhaps it would serve us all well to take a quick break, get some fresh air.
Casting wary glares at one another, the people of Northwood House muttered their agreement before dispersing from the gloomy drawing room. Lord Remington alone remained standing there in the center of the room. The corners of his mouth twisted ever so slightly upward, as if a thought had just occurred to him. Perhaps he was beginning to remember. For a few minutes, the people of Northwood House stretched their legs and attempted to clear their minds. Shipley went to the kitchens and put a kettle on. He was alone there, except for one of Tabitha's cats, which, if he didn't know better, seemed to be watching him. As for Tabitha herself, she had retreated to her room to lie down. Isolde and Hollis found an empty corridor to sit and whisper to each other, each reassuring the other of their own innocence, each promising they believed each other, and each hoping desperately the other wasn't lying. Camilla walked to the aviary to attend to the ravens, and to talk to them. They were better company than the rest of her family anyway, she thought. Algernon, meanwhile, found himself in his father's study, looking through his notes and papers. Regardless of the outcome of his father's farcical investigation, he, at last, was inheriting the Northwood orchards. In one drawer he saw his father's letter opener, with its golden handle molded in the shape of an apple tree, and for some reason he felt his limbs go weak. Algernon quickly closed the drawer. Caitlin found himself staring at the mirror in the servants' bathroom. It felt like he was coming back to himself, but there was still so much missing. What had happened last night? Why couldn't he remember? He stared at the man staring back in the mirror. Lady Gwendolen, for her part, sat on a chair in the dining room and read a book, looking for all the world unbothered by the morning's events. Buckley and Edward both went outside, albeit for very different purposes. Buckley began exercising in the courtyard, hoping to catch a glimpse of a squirrel he could chase, while Edward went out to the gardens to water some of his flowers. For a few minutes, perhaps, there was relative peace. When Edward returned to the house, he was wearing an expression of horror. Seeing this, Lord Remington's ghoulish grin deepened, and he called everyone back to the drawing room. As the people of Northwood House returned to the dreary room, the ghost of Lord Remington turned to Edward.
I believe, Gardener, there is something you need to tell us. We will move on into the third Q&A session.
Yes, I returned to Didier Dupont's grave last night. See, my dad died here under rather mysterious circumstances. That's why I took this job a few months ago. I've been waiting for the night that spirits are closest, so I could have a seance. And oh boy, did it work. I managed to conjure my dad's spirit. He possessed me and used my body to talk with me. It turns out my dad got awfully sick, but Lord Remington wouldn't let him take time off. Well, my dad got worse, until one day he collapsed in the gardens. It was hours before anyone found his body. Lord Remington had him buried in the cemetery, and he sent a short, nondescript notice of death to Didier's family. After I learned the truth from my dad, his spirit left me, and I took a walk through the gardens to calm down. And in truth, I didn't get much sleep last night. But even though Lord Remington was at fault for Didier's death, I didn't plan to kill him. Break his windows and leave unannounced? Maybe. But the news of Lord Remington's death this morning put a stop to all retaliation. It seems to me that there may be more than one ghost here today. I just went out to the gardens to water a few flowers. The weather outside is dreary, but it hasn't rained yet, and they haven't been doing so well. And I saw, shoved behind some bushes, the body of Algernon Whitecliffe. It looked like his neck had been slashed with a small blade. He was cool to the touch, like he'd been dead since last night. So the Algernon who's been here talking. What are you? Algernon, do you even know you're dead?
Unfortunately, feel very uneasy. I remember now that my father kept frustrating me last night. I remember getting drunker and angrier. When my father went for a walk in the gardens, I remember taking a gun from a safe in the Northwood house, and I followed him outside. I remember confronting him and telling him I was going to shoot, and then I was holding something, and he lunged towards me, and I don't remember much else last night. I think at some point I remember seeing a spectral figure in the house, but when I followed it into the hallway, it's just gone. The only one in the hallway was Maitland after that. I don't remember anything until this morning. There's something else that's been bothering me. Maitland drinks very little. Strange behavior certainly cannot be due to a hangover, but if he drank from wine glasses intended for both Lady Gwendolen and Lord Remington, he might not only be affected by Hollis's magic. Isolde was practicing witchcraft, too. Isolde, are your spells at the heart of Maitland's strange behavior? Did your spells weaken him or change him? And once your spells failed to reach Lord Remington, Isolde, did you decide to kill him yourself?
Don't be ridiculous. First, I'll put everyone's mind at ease. Say that the brew I made wasn't intended for Maitland. It was intended for my mother, Lady Gwendolen. I knew she'd seen me taking Lord Remington's glass to Hollis in the kitchens, and I didn't really want her to have any suspicions about me or Hollis, so I whipped up a potion to help her forget what she'd seen. So I didn't mean for it to affect Maitland, but I do kind of imagine that's why he can't remember things. I was just trying to protect Hollis, though. Like, it had nothing to do, all of this has nothing to do at all with Lord Remington. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But Edward, you're sure you didn't just the whole, I saw you there with the circle of candles and the summoning and the summoning a spirit. It looked like that. You're sure that wasn't some revenge thing? I think you already answered that one, but it's okay.
Why don't I do instead Tabitha? I'll hop over to Tabitha's question. Well, last night, after the others went to bed, I heard someone leave Northwood House through the servants' door. I followed them, and found to my confusion that Lady Gwendolen appeared to be dragging someone outside the manor. I managed to get closer. You didn't notice that. Close enough to see Lady Gwendolen biting down on the neck of her limp human form, blood dripping down her chin. The victim was no one I recognized. No one from Northwood House, at least. Maybe one of the peasants from the village. But the evidence before my eyes was undeniable. Lady Gwendolen is a vampire. Do you have anything to say to defend yourself, Lady Gwendolyn? As a vampire, you certainly had the means to kill Lord Remington, didn't you?
Yes, it's true. I'm a vampire. It's been a number of years since I was the man who... sorry. It's been a number of years since I was with the man who turned me. A rather charismatic, handsome fellow I met while travelling. And in the time since then, I've avoided the sunlight that so easily burns my skin, preferring to stay awake at night. And yes, occasionally I may wander outside at night and lure people back into Northwood House to feed on them. It's what I must do to survive, after all. But killing people as a vampire certainly leaves marks on their body. And there were no such wounds on Lord Remington. Now, whatever you all may think of me, at least it's clear that I didn't kill my husband, or turn him into a vampire. Wait, it's impossible for anyone here to have seen me. I remember I was very careful about watching my back. I avoided everyone all night. In fact, I'm certain the only creature from Northwood House that saw me last night, while I was taking my victim's body out to be buried in the woods behind Northwood House, a single black cat followed me outside. It was one of Tabitha's cats. So if Tabitha knows... Tabitha, can you talk to your cats? Can you possess them? If you can do that, what else can you do?
It's a secret I've kept well hidden for a while now, but yes, I am in fact capable of transforming into a cat. Sometimes in this form I wander the Northwood House and the surrounding grounds. It's not only to spy on people. I'm quite old. I can't move around like I used to. Standing up for too long hurts, let alone walking. My cat form grants me much more freedom. Unfortunately, it doesn't give me any other special powers. I certainly didn't kill Lord Remington while I'm cat form. I think we'll need to have somebody else ask a question.
Now, I've been wondering about the spell that Hollis was trying to put on Lord Remington. If Maitland drank from the enchanted wine, then perhaps the spell affected him. I have never once heard Maitland speak in support of Isolde's lowly work as a chef until last night. Hollis, what exactly was your spell intended to do? And when it didn't work on Lord Remington, did you try again? Or did you perhaps resort to other means to deal with Lord Remington?
Okay, fine. The spell I tried to cast on Lord Remington was one to make him more supportive of Isolde's career choice. Oh, so scary, being supportive of your family. If it hit Maitland instead, oh no, now he'll be supportive of Isolde. Again, how terrible. The horror. Oh, of course, I didn't try to do anything else to Lord Remington. I didn't even know until this morning that the spell didn't reach him. You know, something's been settling on my mind. Maybe he didn't want to own up to it, but I think I know what Shipley was doing with his poisonous plants in the kitchens. There's a walk-in cupboard back there that he never uses when anyone else is around. Maybe he works his own magic there. Shipley? What are you hiding back there? And did you have a use for those poisonous plants after all?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do have a walk-in cupboard back in the kitchens, but I don't do magic there. To tell the truth, I practice alchemy. Not just turn stuff into gold, mind. I make all sorts of concoctions. I make good money selling them in town. Well, you paid me more, I suppose. But sometimes, more than the Whitecliffs pay me to cook. And yes, sometimes those concoctions require poisonous plants. But I never go about poisoning people myself. That would be bad for my business. As I was cleaning up the kitchens last night, I heard Maitland get into an argument with Lord Remington. That's really strange for Maitland. He would never be so disrespectful to a Whitecliff, to any Whitecliff, least of all Lord Remington. What had gotten into him? And that wasn't all. Soon afterwards, Maitland asked me for a poisonous concoction himself. He shouldn't have known that I'm an alchemist, as far as I know. The only person in Northwood House who ever knew my alchemy was actually Edward's father, Didier Dupont, who I should have revealed that I knew earlier, I suppose. But Maitland never seemed to know, and he was willing to pay, so I made the concoction for him. Maitland, why were you arguing with Lord Remington? And how did you know about my alchemy? And did you have, and what use did you have for the poisonous concoction in the first place? What use?
All right. First, I can just about remember now the argument that I had late last night with Lord Remington. As I recall, he had made a disparaging remark about Isolde's career as a chef, and, well, I couldn't stand for it. She's done nothing to harm the family. She should be the one, she should be able to, look, she should have whatever job she likes, and the rest of you lot, it makes me angry the way you treat her. That's all beside the point. It's for knowing about Shipley's alchemy and asking him for a concoction, apparently? I have no idea what on earth you're going on about. I have no memory of that. I had no knowledge of you being an alchemist until you just now mentioned it. Look, my memories of last night remain clouded, but I think you're just lying as far as I'm concerned. Now, I can say some of my memories have been coming back. And hearing about Buckley digging around in the cemetery, wearing torn and dirty clothes, it did bring something back to me. Now, I found those clothes last night. They were much worse than Buckley described. They were muddy and torn up, sure, but they were not just torn up. They were ripped to shreds. They were drenched in blood. So, Buckley, what on earth were you doing last night? And how many creatures or people would you have had to kill?
Okay, so maybe my clothes got more than just muddy last night. Maybe they got ripped to shreds and soaked in blood. That's what happens when I don't manage to take them off before I transform. It's a problem that comes with being a werewolf. Sometimes, when I get really riled up, I transform. And it happened yesterday, not long after Lord Remington refused to duel me. Whatever. I was outside hunting and eating small animals. And when I transformed back, I buried their remains. I didn't transform again last night after that. Just because I'm a werewolf with anger problems doesn't mean I'm a murderer. There was something strange about one of the animals that I managed to catch yesterday. It was a raven, but it had rings around its legs and a few necklaces draped around its neck. I ended up burying those jewels with the bird, but now that I think about it, those jewels had to have come from somewhere nearby. There are a lot of ravens at the aviary at Northwood House, and Camilla often take. Mother, how did that raven get those jewels? Were you trying to steal things, and did the Lord catch you?
Unfortunately, the prenuptial agreement I signed with Algernon would see me receive absolutely none of the White Cliff's substantial fortune if I divorced him. And I've put 2 decades of my life into dealing with this ridiculous family and raising that brat of mine. You all owe me, so yes, I've been training my ravens to fly to my parents' house in Salchester, and perhaps some of those ravens have carried some jewelry along the way. But what good does jewelry do locked up in the boxes in the attic? So what if I decide to take it? No one ever caught me until now, and it has nothing to do with Lord Remington.
I think that's all of them. There might be one more.
That's everybody.
I tried my best to count. All right. So which of those was the most surprising?
The Buckley being a werewolf.
I caught that when he mentioned earlier about the squirrel in the narration earlier. He was watching a squirrel in the narration. I caught that.
The ravens, the transforming into a cat, a vampire, a werewolf, 2 ghosts.
Wow.
I didn't realize I was a vampire at all. I thought I was just a depressed old lady.
An alchemist
My
and
own
2 witches.
son. My own son is a werewolf now. It's sad.
Disgusting.
It's got a real Munsters vibe.
Can't have a normal house.
It comes from grandma, apparently, turning into cats.
Who
That was
even
a
eats
big
my
surprise.
food? Does anyone eat? Who's the banquet for?
I don't know. Perhaps in one of the other stories, we'll find out how Buckley became a werewolf.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we move on then? It seems as though there are many more secrets in this family than many of us knew. Indeed, many of you have revealed far more than necessary to get to the truth of my murder. But my memories of last night have begun to take shape once more. Do you know what happened? Have you determined who might have had the motives and means to kill me? Everything adjusted. We lost some, but there we go. And so I believe at this point we have a Google form set up for everybody to be able to submit their guesses as to what ended up killing me, Lord Remington.
We do. We can also discuss if anyone wants to
If you would
talk
like
through
to,
any of their ideas before we submit.
See,
Can I make my accusation here?
Yeah, where do we make our accusations? I feel like we don't know enough about the gardener. I feel like he's sort of gone under the radar. We know his dad's dead.
He is a little shifty, and he's definitely secretive.
Everyone's feeling shifty and secretive at the moment.
I mean, two of them literally shipped.
Yeah.
Nope.
Lost John.
Yeah, do you have a link to make accusations?
Yes. All right. So I made a tiny URL. So it's tinyurl.com/northwoodhouse1112.
Any other accusations? Who else is sus and how?
Everyone.
I swear to God, if it turns out that Lord Remington killed himself just to tear this family apart, he's an evil genius and a bad man.
I feel like everyone's going to blame the butler because that's just the thing to do, right? or Shipley is probably having some sort of existential crisis as to why he cooks food for 12 people when only maybe 3 of them eat. And
Those 3 just eat really well.
He's cooking. All he had to do was crack open some fancy feast.
What was that URL again?
The URL is tinyurl.com/northwoodhouse1112.
yeah, because that comes up with the value privacy. Is there any capitals or anything?
No.
No.
There we go. I got it.
Any chance you can shoot it in Discord? I don't want to mess up the cams on stream.
So who have we not been suspicious about? Because it's probably one of the people we're less suspicious about. It's probably the culprit. Because I don't think Buckley did it at all. Buckley's too busy being a werewolf, and that death would have been a lot more gruesome.
So what do we know? Who was doing what?
It seems pretty clear to me that Lord Remington actually killed Algernon in the with the letter opener. So
straight up killed his son.
So then who killed him?
All right, I recorded my accusations. Got
I'm
my
still not sure.
suspicion.
Because I believe myself. I believe Gwendolyn that similar to Buckley would have been more evidence if it was a vampire or a werewolf. What did it? Old Lady Tabitha. What was it like when a cat kills someone? There was witches with memory potions stopping him from remembering himself who did it.
I mean, everyone could be. The werewolf ate him. Vampire ate him. Someone poisoned him. Someone shot him. Someone used the rapier.
No.
But he just fell
How
over.
dare you?
Right?
Yeah, it was a smashed or cracked neck that was the cause of death. He was found
Oh.
in the foyer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was a cracked neck with a rapier. I mean,
My favorite bludgeoning weapon.
To be fair, it does have a hilt.
Yeah, right. Just
We did say there were no visible wounds.
wow.
It was Buckley with the bag of oranges.
Suspect it was somebody who was able to concoct a potion to control somebody else to do something and then
Maybe a
have them
witch?
forget. Yeah, I think there's an awful lot of like memories erased and an
Look at
awful
you,
lot of
Isolde.
potions being brewed and snuck into various drinks.
And Tabitha wanted to get the orchard off of the two heirs, right? But she wanted to give it to Gwendolyn. So I'm wondering what. And they both died too. So Buckley is the the remaining alive one. Okay, I'm going to submit.
Would it go to Buckley or would it go to Isolde? Or Gwendolyn? I'm
Depends, I
not really a
suppose. It
lawyer
depends.
here, and we haven't. No solicitor
Gwen-
has shown up with his last will and testament.
Gwendolyn's a lawyer. I say it was, and therefore I have the highest authority, despite having no no knowledge of the rules. Is Older younger?
Isolde is
Yeah, she's
uh,
the
oh,
aunt, isn't she? Yeah, she's
yeah,
the aunt.
she's around the same age as Algernon. I think she's the younger sister, but like around the same.
Yeah, Zola's my younger sister. She wants to go cook in the kitchen instead of us paying the servants. Makes no sense. I mean, cooking's fun and all, but I mean, honestly, Isolde, get out of the kitchen because we've got all this money that you're part of this wealth. I mean,
Yeah, but she's got a fun job. You know, I've got a fun job down at the pub. It's a nice pub. I like it there.
Makes her happy.
yeah, well, I mean, look,
Is
I
that-
just want to get the throne, okay? I want to take the riches all for me and then divorce my hag wife.
Wow.
So is that
And
part
I mean,
of
she
the
wants to
lawyer?
divorce me too. I mean, apparently I'm a
That's mutual
disappointment.
one.
Yeah.
And she was stealing valuables, as if wanting to leave and escape with valuables.
I let her have it. I mean, it's probably a fraction of what we own here.
Plus the prenuptials.
Right. I mean, there's that too.
Like, because I'm 100% not Buckley. Other than that,
I feel like I
No
want to
idea.
change my answers now. I'm like thinking about this so much. I'm like, maybe I was wrong.
I can go. I think I can change that setting in the Google form.
No, that's all right. We'll leave it just in case I was wrong about being wrong, and I was right.
Come on, chat. What you got?
Come on, Sleepy.
Yeah, what
Hot
is the chat
takes.
thing?
What are your thoughts? Who do you think
So
did
far
it?
we
Who
have
done it?
Tabitha at top of the list.
Wow.
Really?
I see it. I can see that.
Yeah, you guys can guess along. That's a big old. Go with the gut.
Tabitha seems to have mostly been observing. And either in old lady form and she can't really walk that well, or cat form where she can't really do much besides observe.
Because
I mean,
it's Edward and Shipley are just doing their weird poison business, where they sell. They definitely kill people, but not this one.
I think he was the tool. I think he was the weapon, but not the hand.
Sleepy Star's leaning towards Tabitha too.
Well, I say.
did edit the Google form, so you can change your answer if you'd like.
No, I'm good.
And we'll just I'll disable the submissions once we start revealing the answer.
Yeah, let me know when it's time to move on. I'm all ready.
All right, I'm gonna change my answer right quick. I'm gonna be that guy. Edit your response. All right. Submitted. We're fixed. We're good to go.
Because what's the chain of events? There was a banquet happening that Shipley had slaved over all night, but no one was going to eat it. So then, but during the night, at some point, there was lots of wine glasses being handed around from butler to daughter to daughter's girlfriend to or daughter's wife. I'm not sure. I can't remember the description. And then butler came back with lack of memory, covered in wine, and then and then everyone else wasn't the butler or the gardener. Everyone who lives in the house is a Twilight. So it's a difficult one. I like it a lot though.
And there's more to come. There's what, 6 more stories? 5?
Five more.
Five.
Five more.
There's
This one
5 more
is
to
so
come.
far the hardest of all. Yeah.
There's 5 more to come. Plus, there's also the demo game, the Overture, which is only 3 players, which is free on itch.io.
Nice.
Which you can all download and play tomorrow, tonight even, or next week at Thanksgiving if you're in one of the places that's celebrating that.
Yeah.
You throw that link in the Discord?
Yeah, I can do that. Or if
it's in the one-shot text chat.
Okay, done. Gonna make that happen. Play with the fam.
All right. Are we all submitted? We're all good?
I'm
I
submitted.
believe so.
Okay. At last, my memories have returned to me, and I can reveal what truly happened last night. It seems Algernon had plans in place to wrest control of the Northwood orchards from me. Unfortunately, he didn't have the even temper required to see his plans through. Last night, indeed, Algernon threatened to kill me. But you know what they say, never take a bluff to a gunfight. My foolish son pointed his gun at me and threatened to shoot, and I dared not wait to find out if he was lying. I am afraid the only weapon I had on me was my letter opener. Rather crude, I know, but I struck swiftly and hid his body in the bushes. I decided I would come back outside later, after everyone had fallen asleep, to deal with the body. So no, Algernon is not my killer. Though it isn't for his lack of trying. I'm afraid in this case, our roles are rather reversed. No, what about Buckley? The boy certainly has the means. I dare say my letter opener may have been fairly useless against a werewolf, but my body bears no wounds, and it is certainly not within that boy's means to be so discreet. No, Buckley would have made a mess of me. He is not my killer either. As we saw, I was never the target of Isolda's witchcraft. While she no doubt had the ability to kill me, unlike many of you, she never truly had the motive. I was the target of Hollis's spells, but it's clear she preferred that I be alive and under her enchantment, so I could speak well of Isolda. If I were dead, I couldn't stop the rest of you from belittling Isolda's life choices. Neither Hollis nor Isolda are my murderer. As for my mother, Tabitha, I had no idea you could transform into a cat. It certainly explains how you know things that should be impossible for you to know. Yes, she wanted me out of the family business just as much as Algernon did. But unlike Algernon, my mother is not nearly so hot-headed. Tabitha certainly has her secrets, but my murder is not among them. Now, my dearest wife, the Lady Gwendolyn, who for years now I have rarely seen, as she sleeps through the day and wakes all night. Now, at least we know why. I think, darling, you could have told me you were a vampire. There was little enough love left between us for it to have made a difference in our relationship. Lady Gwendolyn, it seems, is likely to have killed a number of people over the years, but I am not among them. Camilla, meanwhile, has been planning to leave our family and take as much wealth as she can with her. I say that I wholly blame her. I can't say that I wholly blame her. Algernon was surely a poor husband, as he was a son. Perhaps if I had caught you thieving, we might have had a real confrontation, and then who knows what you might have done. Alas, I had no more knowledge of your pilfering ravens than anyone else. Camilla is not my killer. You may realize now, there are 3 names yet to be exonerated. Edward, Shipley, and Maitland. And I'm afraid to say my killer is all of them, and none of them. Allow me to explain. You see, Edward called forth the spirit of Didier Dupont, whose death on these grounds I fear to admit was indeed my fault. Yet, when Edward completed his seance, in his anger at what he learned, he failed to send his father's spirit back. Ordinarily, the spirit of Didier Dupont would not have lasted long on the mortal plane. But last night, when the realm of spirits was closest to the mortals, Didier Dupont managed to cling to our realm just long enough to find a suitable vessel to possess. And oh, thanks to the effects of the wine he drank, Maitland's mind was weak, making him very suitable vessel indeed. Shortly after my argument with Maitland, Didier possessed Maitland's body and went to ask Shipley for a poisonous alchemical concoction. As Shipley said, it seems Didier knew of the good cook's alchemy from when he worked here years ago. Coming from Maitland, though, it was surely a strange request. But Shipley is used to discretion in his line of work, and he was willing to serve the butler so long as he was paid. He made the concoction for Maitland, unwittingly for Didier, who then brought the drink to me, offering it in apology for arguing with me. I regret to say I accepted it and drank without much thought. I imagine once he saw me drink it, Didier Dupont was happy to leave Maitland's body and return to the realm where spirits reside. The concoction, after all, was slow working. It didn't take effect until much later, when I sneaked out of my room a few hours before dawn to deal with Algernon's body. I'm afraid I hadn't quite made it to the door when the effects of the poison hit my body and I died on the spot. Well, I'm afraid the mood has grown rather grim. I would say I'm sorry, but I dare say I'm not the only one at fault. It seems you all have much to talk about, and perhaps even more secrets than you've disclosed here today. Alas, with the truth of my death revealed, none of those secrets are likely to concern me. Do what you will, as you always have. I think my time here is done.
As he spoke, Lord Remington grew fainter, more translucent, his voice echoing and fading, as if he was moving farther and farther away. And then he was gone. Outside the Northwood house, a light rain began to fall from the ash-gray sky, a gentle, murmuring drumbeat on the roof and windows. Inside, the dreary drawing room was quiet. Over the following days, rumors surrounding the mysterious deaths of Lord Remington and Algernon spread quickly throughout Salchester. I reached out in vain to the Whitecliff family for comment, leaving my knowledge of the events founded on gossip and hearsay. Still, all accounts of that day seemed to agree that the proceedings were not entirely natural. And, as it turned out, I didn't have to wait long for more substantial evidence of the supernatural in Salchester. That is another story. And until then, this has been Penelope Press with the Northwood Fables.
It was Ghost Dad.
Yeah, I was really surprised I caught that the first time around.
I'm Ghost Dad.
I want to go on record in saying that I submitted Maitland for my accusation, but for none of the reasons why I was expecting. Wow.
That's why there was other
Mhm.
on the list.
And like I had Remington submitted, and then I thought about it. I was like,
When I went to go
Hmm.
submit, I was looking and I was like, other. Why would there need to be an other field? That's weird. There's only like a set amount of people. We all know their names. I went with Hollis and Isolda, but clearly I was wrong.
Just for shits and giggles, put in the name of a player, you know.
It was
You wrote
me
it.
all
You killed
along.
him.
No, this was fun. This was a good time.
Awesome. I'm glad you all enjoyed.
Yeah,
We need
it
a
was-
round two. We need to have like a round two.
It's
Well,
coming.
there are more
coming.
stars coming, so we'll get there.
There have been job applications and a wedding, so it's coming. There are just other things that were happening.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Life has delayed.
Thanks.
Is it a continuation with the same family, or is it different families in the same town? Is it like
Yeah.
the whole town?
Yeah, so maybe exclusive streaming reveal. The next one is going to be the whole series is kind of like in this town and following like this family and the Northwood house and the people who interact with them. But exclusive live stream reveal. Game 2 is going to be focused on just kind of like what is going to happen to the Northwood Orchards now that Algernon and Remington are both gone, and they were kind of like the chairs or like the leaders of that. So what's going to happen next? And I can also say that Tabitha is going to feature again in that mystery as well. So she will the cat lady will be back.
Nice.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely great. And that would definitely make this the same Lord Remington from the Overture story as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Which with there might be if you play that overture the prelude game, there might be a concern you have about the fact that Lord Remington is now dead, and I'll just leave that there as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about
As
that
a
the other
little
day.
hint. Yeah.
Actually, wait a
It's really
second.
cool.
What happens now?
I really like the idea of it's like a mystery story that continues on with the same characters, and get to see how they evolve and go on. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We are
It was a ton of
doing
fun.
an exclusive sale for this stream. So if you're watching or if you're playing, if you go to mythmistgames.itch.io/Andrew Lyceum, Andrew's Twitter handle, we're doing 25% off until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night, Saturday, November 13th. So if you want to get this game, play it with anyone at Thanksgiving, without giving them spoilers or anything.
Or Christmas or Saturnalia or Yule, whatever happens to be your jam on the upcoming
New Year's
Hanukkah,
Eve.
Kwanzaa. That was awesome. It was an excellent time. It was good with all the extra the voicing and not keeping track of 8 characters personally.
It is easier this way.
It was way easier.
That was
Thank you
a
for
lot of fun.
Yeah, and thanks so much to Andrew for letting us come on and do this. It was a lot.
Yeah,
A lot of
absolutely.
fun.
And make sure to follow everyone. Their handles have been on screen this whole time. Many of them have their own streams and games going on. I'll be back on Tuesday with Star Wars.
Are sensitive?
Well, that was a bunch of failed attempt. My computer, my 4th gen i7 was just not keeping up with any of that. But Star Derps, they're doing great. 2 Jedi Mandalorians and an HK assassin droid.
All right.
So good. They've maimed an old man and stolen a ship.
Nice.
Classic
Sounds about
Star
right.
Wars.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I guess good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah,
Oh,
take
later,
care.
thanks for playing.
Night all.
The world is very lucky to have you, and so am I. And may the power protect you.